Good morning, everyone. This is the second week of our discussion. Our subject for today is English, and I am Lovely Gregoria Tandoy, your teacher. So the topic that we are going to discuss today is all about the basic elements of spoken language. Basic elements of spoken language. We have stress, intonation, and pause. So what is stress? Stress is the emphasis placed on a sound, syllable, or word by saying it relatively more loudly and forcefully. So when we say stress, you just have to say a word more loudly and forcefully. Intonation. It refers to the way the pitch of a speaker's voice rises and falls. So intonation is the rising and falling of a voice. Then we have a pause. A pause is a break, temporary stop, or rest in speaking or reading to emphasize or clarify meaning. So, meaning to say, when we say pause, it's simply we have to had a temporary stop. Stress. The meaning of what is being said may change depending on the stress the speaker places on a syllable or a word. So stress it means to pronounce a syllable or word in a louder or more forceful way than other syllables or words. So stressed syllables. A stressed syllable usually combines the following features. So we have five. First one, it is longer. Second, it is louder. Third, it usually has a higher pitch than the syllables coming before and afterwards. Fourth, it is said more clearly. Fifth, it uses larger facial movements. The table below shows pattern in word stress in English, but there are really no fixed rules. Exceptions can usually be found. So word, we have the word, type of word, tendency, and exceptions. So word, apple, table, happy. Type of word, two-syllable nouns and adjectives. Stress on the first syllable, apple. Exceptions, hotel, lagoon. Suspect, import, insult. Words which can be used as both nouns and verbs. The noun has stress on the first syllable. You are the suspect. The verbs has stress on the second syllable. I suspect you. So it's exceptions. We have respect and witness. Then word, hairbrush, football. These are compound nouns. Fairly equally balanced but with stronger stress on the first part, hairbrush. Stressed words. Generally speaking, a word is stressed if it is a content word. Noun, principal or main verb, adjective or adverb. So content word. First one we have noun. What is noun? A noun is a word that is the same of something such as a person, animal, place, thing, quality, idea, or action, and is typically used in a sentence as subject or object of a verb or as object of a preposition. Next one we have principal or main verb. So it refers to the important verb in the sentence, the one that typically shows the action or state of being of the subject. The next one we have adjective. Adjective is a word that describes a noun or pronoun. And lastly, we have adverb. Adverb is a word that describes a verb, an adjective, another adverb, or a sentence that is often used to show time, manner, place, or degree. So a word may also be stressed for the following reasons. So first one, we have to emphasize the test. So example, that was a difficult test. So it means it is a standard statement. The second one we have, that was a difficult test. So in this sentence, it emphasizes how difficult that test was. Second, to point out the difference between an idea and another. Example, I think I prefer this color means that it is a specific color, not any other. And the third one, we have to call attention to new information. Example, when does class begin? The class begins at 9 o'clock. Note, bold and capitalized font indicates a stressed syllable or word. So these are the words: distinguish, civilization, tolerance, community, philosopher. Pause. Appropriate pausing helps to impart clarity in what you are saying. It can also be used in such a way that your main points will make a lasting impression. So, a pause is a temporary stop, meaning to say it is a period of time in which something is stopped before it is started again. So, when to pause? First one, we have pause to punctuate. When you fail to pause when required by punctuation, you make it difficult for others to understand what you are reading aloud or saying. So when there are punctuation marks, you should always pause. You should stop for a while, then continue reading again. The second one, we have pause for change of thought. When you are making a transition from one main point to another, a pause can give your listeners an opportunity to reflect, to adjust, to recognize the change in direction, and to grasp more clearly the next thought about to be presented. So we should pause for change of thought. When we are going to change our topic or when we are going to adjust something, that thing that we are saying, we should always pause in order for our listeners to adjust, to the direction where we are going. So where the speaker is going. Okay, the third one we have pause for emphasis. A pause for emphasis gives your listeners the opportunity to reflect on what has just been said, or it creates anticipation for what is to follow. So, pause for emphasis. If we are going to emphasize a word, if we wanted for a word to be emphasized, we should always pause so that the listeners would be able to reflect on or to understand what has just been said. The fourth one, we have pause to allow response. Allow your listeners to respond, if not orally, mentally. Because communication is a two-way flow of thoughts. So meaning to say it's from the sender to receiver. So it is a two-way process. So pause to allow your response. If you have a question, so during your speech, if you have a question, you should pause so that the audience or the listeners would be able to respond either orally or mentally. So when we say orally, it has something to do with the uttering of words. The way you open your mouth and the words that you utter are coming out. And mentally, it is where you are just going to mentally think of your answer. It's just like you are talking to yourself and you are just the one who's hearing it. Intonation. Incorrect intonation can result in misunderstandings, speaker losing interest, or even taking offense. So, what is intonation again? Intonation is the rise and fall in the sound of your voice when you speak. So we have 7 guidelines or reminders in intonation. First one, we have WH questions. So WH questions should always take falling intonation, like what is your name? Where do you live? So it always take falling intonation. So second, we have yes or no questions. So yes or no questions, these are those questions that are answerable by yes or no. So these should always take rising intonation like, are you 16 years old? Are you happy today? So it's always rising intonation. And statements are falling intonation since they are taken into some serious events they are taken from a person's speech. So they should always take falling intonation. Okay, the fourth one we have question tags like chat, falling intonation, check, rising intonation. Okay, list, rising, rising, rising. It should always take falling intonation. Okay, sixth, we have new information. So new information should always take falling intonation. 7, shared knowledge, falling, rising intonation. So shared knowledge can either be falling or rising intonation. Okay, so that's the end of our discussion for today. If you have any questions, just contact me at my cell phone number, or you can just visit the GAITF e-learning site. Thank you and God bless.